guys, Verbal295, recording live from the local county prison cell, and so this is going to be an episode that I kind of thought of, like, last minute, and then I looked up and other people had thought of it. That happens a lot when I do videos, where it's, I think of an idea and then I find out it's been thought of, but it's just not been, like, popularized, so I do a video about it. And this one's actually, I'm gonna sound like a hypocrite because I kind of bitched a lot a couple years back, but it's gonna be Silver from Silver the Hedgehog from the Sonic the Hedgehog series, and it's gonna be Axel from the Mega Man, more specifically Mega Man 8 series. So years back, I did a Trunks versus Silver video out of protest of them doing Silver versus Mewtwo, which they didn't do anyway, so it didn't matter. And I was like, oh yeah, let's totally, like, Trunks versus Silver makes total sense, let's do it. And it does, like, it wouldn't be a bad death battle. But, like, clearly Silver was inspired by Trunks, so, like, okay, yeah, you're gonna find two similar characters when one of them's, like, based off the other, so that's, whatever. And it's not even like that would be the theme of it, like Deadpool and Deathstroke, where, this is like, even though I don't even think that was the theme of that, but, this is like, yeah, they're time travelers, and they came back to stop an event, and they end up causing the event, and cool, whatever. But, like, so that's a good fight, like, I wouldn't have any problems with that, but this is an instance of two characters with really, like, nothing in common, having the ability to have a good fight, mainly because of the theme, like, and so this, like, Silver versus Axel, I think it works because it's, like, one reason it works is that people hate both of these characters, like, that's the theme of the fight, would be that people hate both characters, so, like, if you do Silver versus Trunks, or Silver versus anyone, other than somebody like Axel, people are going to want Silver to lose, because they hate Silver. They hate the character. Especially because I said this in the video a couple years ago, but, like, people love Trunks, and people hate Silver. So, like, that would be the problem. That would be a problem in Silver versus Trunks that would be avoided with this fight. Axel, same kind of argument, if you put him against anyone, they're going to be like, well, he was annoying, it was annoying playing as him in X7 or X8, so yeah, I want him to lose. He was in a bad game, so I will therefore take all of my frustrations out on the character. I will never not hate the character because of one bad experience I had that he was associated with from 10 years ago. But anyway, let's get into the actual fight, because this is just going to get pandering at this point. So, like, Silver is a psychokinetic. He's a hedgehog from the future. I don't remember if they give a timeline, but it is, it is, like, the far future. And, yeah, he is psychokinetic, so, meaning he, manipulates psychic energy, rather than, controls things just with the power of his mind. So he does have telekinesis as well. Like, he is able to move things with his mind. In fact, that's his main method of doing it. But, when he's psychokinetic, that usually just means you're using psychic energy to move things. So, whatever. But he can use this energy to, lift up anything from cars. He can rip chunks of earth out of the ground. He can catch missiles in midair. He can, lift and throw his opponents. He can bend metal. He can even catch things. He's been shown being able to catch things like beams of energy and, like, fireballs and stuff like that. And it's never really, we've never really show, like, they never really give, like, a limit to how much he can do. But we've seen him in things like, him using his Meteor Smash attack. He's able to, like, lift up everything from his environment, like, almost like a black hole, and just, like, throw it at. So, like, he has a pretty high, ceiling. He's also able to, move himself with this energy. He can, make himself levitate. He can make himself fly at speeds that, rival Sonic. He can also run at speeds like in the area of all the other Sonic characters, but he can actually like match Sonic almost in speed, just in being able to fly. Some might call that cheating. My response to that is that Shadow uses skates. So it's like, yeah, it's a little easier to run faster than somebody when you're wearing fucking skates. Um, sorry, off the point. He's also able to generate a field of energy around himself. He uses this as both a shield, and he uses this to mimic the homing attack, so he can like just kind of pinball off of things. He has limited ESP and telepathy. ESP, yeah, so he can kind of like it's inconsistent, but he can, from time to time foresee events happening and kind of like predict and react to them before they happen. And telepathy, he can't read minds or anything, but he does have the ability to he's shown the ability to like disorient opponents mentally. Like I think it described it as like a condition similar to vertigo, but like only lasting for a few seconds. So I guess if that gives you any context for it, and vertigo sucks as far as I know. And then you get the standard like he can't like throw energy balls or anything that I'm aware of. He does have an attack called the energy knife, which is like a as it would suggest, like it's a lot like the chaos spear, but he throws one of them and it's made of psychic energy instead of like chaos energy. And he's been able to shoot like waves of energy, but not like blasts or anything. It's weird. It's something you'd have to like see to get what I'm talking about. But speaking of chaos energy, he is able to utilize the power of the Chaos Emeralds, to not only become Super Silver, like Sonic and Shadow, he can have a super form. But like Shadow, he's actually able to utilize Chaos Control with one Emerald. So he can, manipulate space and time. He can teleport and freeze time and, move other objects through. Yeah. So that is, and it also, uniquely to him, it amplifies his other abilities. So, even if he's not using Super Shadow, which would also amplify his abilities, but this, using Chaos Control also allows his regular abilities to, not like every time he uses it, but it's just like by using the power of the Chaos Emerald, he can also increase his own abilities. So everything I just mentioned from the, psychokinesis and the, ESP, telepathy, all of that would get like increased while he's using an emerald. So yeah, let's now go into Axel. Axel was, part of a renegade vigilante kind of bounty hunting group at first, and then he later became, part of the Maverick Hunters. He's a Reploid like X and Zero, but he's a lot younger and he's kind of like a rookie. He has experience in combat, but he's just not, he doesn't have the experience in his particular field of work. He's, a rookie in the sense that, he hasn't been a part of it as long, but he does have, combat experience, from being part of this group. But he doesn't have a lot of, like, proper training, but he does have, like, experience in what he's doing. But nothing, like, substantial. So the main difference between him and Zero and X is that he doesn't have like a blaster equipped to him or anything. He uses guns. So his standard set is the it's called the Axle Bullet. It's a pair of twin handguns that can fire automatic, like at automatic speed. Not like he doesn't shoot bullets; he shoots like lasers, but he fires at automatic speeds. Or automatic repetition, I guess, would be a better, he can upgrade those. I think it's called the twin bullet or the double bullet or something along those lines. That I'm gonna get a lot of these names wrong because first of all they changed half these names in between games, and secondly, I haven't played them in forever, so I'm gonna have to I had to look these up, but I don't have it in front of me right now, so I'm gonna forget half of them. But he's able to target, he's able to he's able to shoot multiple enemies at once. I feel like he should be able to do that anyway if he's carrying two of them, two regular guns, but that's besides the point. He's got the G launcher, or I think it was called the something blaster. I don't know. Later, but it's a grenade launcher. It shoots explosive rounds that it can't. It shoots only one at a time, slowly, but it also has a high spread damage. It's a grenade launcher, essentially. It's a futuristic grenade launcher. And then he has weapons that he's able to use from other opponents. Now, unlike the variable weapon system that Mega Man or X have, or the Z system that Zero has, or the base system, which all have their own distinctions, Axel technically has two, and they are in a way kind of distinct, but they pretty much equate to the same thing that everything else does, with, again, distinction. So this is his A-Trans, I believe. So I think it stands for automatic transfer or something. Yeah, the A-Trans ability, which lets him disguise himself as an enemy for a limited period of time. And the copy shot ability, which is essentially just Zero's copy ability, where he gets to copy a technique done by an opponent rather than a move or a weapon, or copying their fighting style or something like base does. This is he can copy, but only, again, limited to the extent that he has the weapon, and he just gets, and they're all guns. He can copy gun-based. So, as the name would suggest, copy shot, he can copy, he can shoot the same, projectile attacks that his enemies do. Only when I believe it's when he's transformed into them. But he also gains characteristics of who he disguises himself as. So, there are the enemies that can walk on spikes. If he transforms into them, he can walk on spikes as well. If the enemy can fly, he can fly to the extent that they can. He copies the characteristics of whatever he's copying. The only caveat to that is that he can't transform into anything larger than himself, so, boss battles. He also has, speaking of, the flight, he also has these kind of almost wing looking, almost X-Wing looking rocket boosters on him that allow him to hover, but again, that has a limited period of time that he can do that in standardly. But then he also has two unique transformations. He has White Axel, which is kind of a form that he can take where he can hover indefinitely and his transformations are indefinite. And then there's also his hyper mode, which turns and not intangible, but he becomes invulnerable for a short period of time. So that, that is something unique to him, unique to them. His is that he not only is invulnerable, but he also turns invisible, so he's not detected by enemies. So yeah, this is the verdict on this. I feel like Silver would win this. On the basis that though Axel has a lot more options in his offense, he has all of his past enemy minions weapons, and he has his own weapons, and he can do all this stuff. There are a lot of limitations that come along with those weapons, but also he doesn't really have, despite having that diversity of weapons, his style of combat is very linear. It's just shooting at the enemy. That's it. He doesn't really do anything else but that. He just shoots at you. So, and somebody like Silver, with psychokinesis, he can utilize that in many different ways. And, it's also, Silver also fights very, like, control-oriented. He can, he manipulates his environment, he manipulates his opponents. He, uses, like, everything to his advantage. So, having, like, such a simple style of combat against somebody who can pretty much do, who can do so many different things with their style of combat, I think really kind of puts Axel on his back foot. Not to mention, like, Axel doesn't have a lot of defensive options, but like I said, if he can't fight at all up close. So as soon as, like, Silver rushes in on him with that barrier up, there's not really much he can do, because A, he has a barrier up, so shooting at him's not going to do anything. B, he has no options close up. He can't, like, he doesn't, like, fight close up a lot. He's not like Zero where he has a sword, He doesn't really, like, fight close up, so it really does stop him from being able to do a lot. And, a lot of Axel's, like, trump cards kind of just put him on, like, even footing with Silver. Like, yes, Axel has the hyper mode, which turns him, which makes him invulnerable, but, like, so does Silver. He has Super Silver, and it only lasts for a minute, but, like, so, I don't even think Axel's hyper mode lasts for that long. And at the same time, like, okay, he can turn invisible, but, like, Silver has ESP. I'm not sure if ESP would work on a robot mind, and I'm not sure that you can give a robot mind vertigo, but I feel like ESP would work, actually, now that I think about it, because he's not reading the person's mind, he's just, like, predicting the future in a way. He's kind of, like, getting a sixth sense for the future. So I think that would work, but yeah, like, even if he can't give Axel vertigo, which he might be able to do because, he fights a lot of robots, but, that's the other thing, he fights a lot of robots, so, this isn't that weird to him. I feel like Silver just, this isn't like a fight where he has, like, a perfect counter for everything, it's just that, like, Axel, all of his options essentially do the same thing or have the same result on Silver, and Silver, like, it's really a battle of, like this, I don't know that Silver can lose this. Let's put it that way. Like, it's not it's not like, well, if Axel does this, then maybe it's like, I don't think Silver can lose this fight. Like, he would have to stand still to lose this, pretty much. So, I'm not trying to undersell Axel. This isn't like, it is, I don't see, like, they're power-wise, they're not that different from each other. It's just the fact that, like, Axel literally doesn't have the options to beat Silver. And Silver can, like, do pretty much anything and win this fight. Just because of the way that they both, like, they're both very simple, straightforward characters power-wise. It's just the fact that Silver's power happens to give him more versatility than Axel's power, even though Axel has more things that he can do technically than Silver. It's weird like that. But yeah, so this is, I think this fight, like I said, would probably would go better than Silver versus Trunks. I'd like to see either, but, like, I just thought this would be a cool fight to do. Always give, like I've put Aang in, like, 3 different fights, so it didn't matter. I've put Ganondorf in, like, 5. So, it's cool to just think of other options, that are realistic. Nobody start recommending, like, Silver versus fucking Frankenberry or something, like, I just want to see, like, I want fights that have a reason to happen. Don't recommend anything to me. Let me figure this out on my own. I'm good. But yeah, anyway, yeah, so, Verbal Engine 95.